Tonight we're celebrating quinquennial of this show. This is the 5th year celebration of this show. Well, give me a break. Boy, oh boy, has it been a journey for me and myself. And let me tell you, for 5 years, I have never looked back until now. With that in mind, before we celebrate, y'all know the drill. We got some COVID to cover. That's what we've been doing for 2 years. And now we got some COVID to cover. And we still got 2 deaths in state of Texas since yesterday, and then we have over 1,400 cases. Since the 6.7% positive, over 550,000 tests have been taken, with 36,000 positive tests. ICU over 1,500. People hospitalized 12,000 to 70 hours April 30th. 61.4% have been fully vaccinated. 73.1% have had at least one dose, 21.2% and 17.8%. In the U.S., 556 million doses have been given fully vaccinated in 2020, and 66.7% of the population has been vaccinated. What about our local schools? Let's check today. There's only one. And today, as the first month of May comes, today there was only one intermediate student, intermediate staff who's got COVID. And that makes it one. As for the rest, I gotta give credit. Throughout the month, no high school students, high school staff didn't have COVID. Intermediate staff, you guys did great. Primary staff and ECC staff, y'all did great. And even you guys in the district, you guys are doing great, keeping up. And you guys are still in stage 2, which is great. And throughout the 3 years, you guys have been stepping up to plate point 4. With that, I'm very proud of y'all. Which is why this show supports every school district. Throughout the 5 years, this show supports every school district across the country. In every state, from Texas to California to Oklahoma to Idaho to New York City, Washington, D.C., to name several. But I will not forget when we did our first COVID. That was years ago, before that was like almost several years ago. But has there been more COVID in the news? Well, let's find out. Nothing new except the outbreak in China, with a lot more restrictions. But that could mean if you got more restrictions, that could be a lot worse for people who want to travel. If you're traveling during this year or traveling during the summer, there are things you need to know. If you're being vaccinated, number one, get vaccinated and get vaccinated twice and then get boosted if you're qualified. If you're already vaccinated and boosted, take precautions. Carry and pack some masks and hand sanitizers. And study up on the cases to where you're going to go. If you're going to Kansas because of a funeral somewhere, look up the cases. Or if you live with your parents and you're going somewhere, you need to tell them, like, okay, this is the number amount of cases that in the state. And then they'll remember to take extra precautions. Also, if you're traveling somewhere, TSA is now making masks optional for those who are vaccinated, which is great. We're almost back to normal here. I'm glad vaccinated people, my fans in the Bluff, have been vaccinated or boosted. It was either get boosted, get vaccinated, or just take it off the schedule. I didn't want to take out the schedule. So that was it. So until that time comes, you need to make sure you're masked, social distance, hand washing, sanitizing your hands. You also need to make sure your kids are doing the same thing. Right now, everyone's eligible for the vaccines. If you test positive, get vaccinated. After the 5th day, get tested again. If you quarantine, remember this: you need to stay home. Do not leave the house. You leave the house for like 5 days or whatever. That's going to add another 10 days. The other two, no masks, medical condition. Just let them know beforehand. Also, if you qualify for the booster, get the booster. And if you have COVID, get the vaccine. And if you have any more questions about the vaccine, don't be afraid to ask the doctor. Your doctor will just give you a lot of answers. That's why they're experts out there. That's why there's experts. Doctors are here to help you. You can even ask the people. And if you lost your vaccine card, make sure you ask someone where you got your vaccine card, and they'll tell you. All right. When we come back, our 5-year celebration begins. Don't go away. What you saw yesterday was the eve of the celebration. It was the Give Me a Break 5-year celebration eve, meaning a rehearsal to what's coming up. What you just saw in there was a taste. And that's nothing compared to tonight. Tonight, we're looking back at some of my favorite issues that I've been talking about for the 5 years. And they include everything from educational issues to issues going on around the world and the issues going on with family members. You want to get started? Let's get started right now. I will never forget when I first talked about violence in video games. That was years ago. Now, all that was years ago. And I will never forget when I talked about it. And the reason why is because I had to teach parents what they need to do. That's one I will never forget. It's here somewhere. What I did on this also told you about the rating system from each of the games. Trying to find it. That was 3 years ago. I'll never forget what happened 3 years ago. I focused in a lot of video games to where it was this all because when all these video games were linked to all the school shootings, all the mass murders that happened. Because as you see right here, I've got several. I've got T E10 T E10 T E T E T T E T M T M E10 E10 or T M T E10 E10 M E10 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 M E T. I can't even tell without just looking at it. all these were, I got all of them from E through M. And I told you guys, M for mature means again, not suitable for kids under 18. Now this was also inspired from, after I talked about this, Rob's Rants did a subject on that. So let's find a clip. Let's find the clip. There it is. Now, so I'm going to take 5 minutes to watch.
Which might as well be banning violent movies.
And I gotta tell you, by watching this, it was probably this almost different. Take a look.
What's up, you wild gamers? You better put that down before I report you to the news. Video games, guys. Violent video games. That's the answer to all the mass shootings and the terrible stuff going on in the world. How did you not see this coming? Violent video games? Really? What the? You know it's these oversensitive parents. Like, my son plays a game where you just shoot people. That is mentally, that is not good. He's gonna one day do that when he gets older. Lady, you got way more important things to take note on. Dude, I was like 7 years old playing violent video games. Well, what does that mean, violent? Does it have to have a gun? Do I have to be shooting people? Man, I was playing Harry Potter when I was a kid, freaking casting flipendo to people. Am I gonna walk down the street and do that? I was a kid, like what, 12, 13 or whatever, playing Grand Theft Auto.
M for mature.
Which was so
Harry
fun.
Potter.
Ironically, it's like, you know as a kid, like, oh, obviously, it's a freaking cartoon, it's a freaking game. Oh, look, I just freaking sliced some guy's head off with a machete. The cops are gonna come after me, and when they shoot me, I'm killed. Obviously, something you don't want in real life, because I'd be dead. It's not like, oh, dead. Then I could respawn in real life. I could argue and say video games are educational. You know, the World War II, World War I, all the games inspired based off of that. It teaches you what it's like, how it was, the culture, the people. We might as well make a thing that says how many people enlisted to serve our country after playing video games. And you got articles like this. Why video games aren't causing America's gun problem. Look at the chart in rising sales and then violent gun deaths. How do you even correlate the two? You know you must be mentally ill. Most people are on freaking medication, disturbed, not healthy. People around them don't seem to care or notice. Background checks are a joke. Those things make sense. But it's violent video games because lying news media said so. Now Walmart's pulling back their video games. Nice job with revenue losses. What genius thought of that? Okay, it is our decision that we're going to pull the violent video games because we don't support the shootings going on. We don't support... I understand you don't support it, lady. Who does support that shit? But pulling the video games off of? Yeah. Have fun with that. Hey, says here we're down $20 million of revenue this year. Then you talk about behaviors. You got to watch how... Behaviors? Why? Because I get upset playing Grand Theft Auto or something like that? We've all been upset. You don't think I get angry at video games? Then you got Twitch streamers making a living playing the shit. And everyone thinks they have to throw in their 2 cents about it. Like, Rob, but did you read that one report, on Facebook or YouTube? Did you read that one report that actually there's a correlation between that one shooter, back in the day when he shot up that, mall? It said that he loved playing games like Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto. So there you go. Well, 1 billion people have played those games and none of them shot up a mall. So let's just, pin that to it. What's the agenda here? Is this a distraction to the real problem that we got to address? Like mental health, access to getting mental help. You're not normal in the head when you do that. You don't just grow up as a kid like, you know what? I remember that one mission I played in Grand Theft Auto. Let's reenact it today, Jim. Are you serious? You want me to buy a gun and we could just do it for fun? No, of course I'm fucking not serious, you idiot. And if you want to shut down this entire argument because it is on the same level, we pretty much might as well be banning violent movies. Movies encouraging adolescents to have sex and be on drugs. Movies convincing you to, get in with the social norms and the peer pressure and start, puffing the chiva. Blame the internet for all the stupid challenges that come out there. It's the internet's fault. It's YouTube's fault. People are snorting Sharpies, eating Tide Pods, setting themselves on fire, stuffing Oreos in their buttholes. You name it.
Telling parents to shut up.
Movies that are shooting up everybody. And in the movies, they're made to look like heroes. What, just because I have a freaking controller in my hand, it's different? I thought it had to do with the mind. Even the bad influence friends you hang around with. It really goes back to who you are. Don't stand too close to your friend there, Billy. You'll catch it stupid. Mommy, can we get this Xbox? Xbox? You mean prepare to shoot people down box? The PlayStation? You mean rape station? You ain't going anywhere near that. I don't want to train my kid to become a killer. Thanks for the suggestion. Shout out to my Patreons. Subscribe if you feel like it, and we'll get going with more videos.
That's the one I'll never forget. In the near future, we're going to compare, because let me tell you something. Comparing the Oxford school shooting to the Columbine school shooting, those three people played video games. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold both played Doom. And Ethan Crumley did a quote from the video game. He didn't play it, but he did. But he did say that quote on Instagram. I talked about I'm talking about more education than Dr. Phil talking about the Chauvin family, and we'll tell you more about education topics that I've talked about over the years when we come back. After 5 years of doing educational shows, one issue that I will forget was dealing with school threats. This all started months ago after TikTok decided to do a National School Shooting Day, leaving a lot of people doing school threats. Now, if you look up school threats on Google, they would have stories like this: FBI investigating threats to Nauman Forest High School in Garland. Metal detector searches to take place in Cherokee Central Schools after threats. Newborough schools facing threats of violence. School students suspended after threats directed at Nauman Forest. It's like every day when I do this show, I turn around. There's a threat, and another threat, and another threat. I tell people all the time, don't do this. And I'll never forget that officer who told the people, if you're going to think about sending a threat, fake or real, not only are you going to be out of school, but you're going to jail. That's a fact. That's a fact right there, I tell you what. And throughout the years, I never stopped with this. I tell people, do not do this. And yet, I hear a fake 911 call happening here in a Bluff. I hear someone make a fake prank call 911 saying that there's a bomb somewhere. But one story I'll never forget, one thing I'll never talk about is I dealt with a lot of these threats. There's one person I never dealt with. Tom Tracy, you remember him from his skipping school videos. I watched this a few times because I wanted to address this very seriously. So if you remember him, he has a lot of subscribers, a huge channel, blah, blah, blah. He's known for skipping class. He's known for skipping class and playing pranks. That's what he's most famous for. He's got over 1 million subscribers with lots of views. But he has been targeted for filming on school property. They told him he can film outside of school, so he just filmed a challenge, and all of a sudden he told him he cannot film on school grounds. It's like, okay. So, I don't know what I'm talking about. But there's also one thing there's one thing I'll never forget, talking about the public bathrooms. Disgusting. Why don't they keep them clean? This was inspired from a rant from Rob's rants. Oh, I got it. I will never forget when I talked about high school stereotypes. That was from freaking that was somewhat years ago. Talking about the stereotypes. This was also inspired from Rob's rant. So I'm still looking for it. But I'll also never forget the time I talked about stop making stupid people famous. And again, this was from Rob. There we go. I'll never forget that. Let's watch this 2-minute segment on this.
At the party, I drank like 2, 3, 10 freaking bottles, man. Our school is seriously the best. You guys see that football game last night? Man, I would have played so much better that third quarter. I didn't give a fuck about that assignment. I finished the whole essay last night. I tapped her, dog. I'm telling you, she's the one who calls me. Hey, you think I can copy last night's homework? If I finish it today, can I turn it in early? Wait, so like, Earth is spinning? But what is it spinning on? See, I don't like Adele's voice. Bro, Stephanie wants it, bro. She just wants the D, bro. Like, she let me borrow a pen, and she was like, keep it. She fucking wants it. And like, what do you mean after school? Was it something I did? Something he said? I'm just so sad right now. You never know how someone feels on the inside. I don't need college, man. I'm already selling that good shit. My parents are literally the worst. Like, they took away the brand new TV and car that they bought me just because I threw a party and set the living room on fire. Can you, like, not? Man, why I gotta be sent to the office again? I didn't do shit. I didn't say this is bullshit. I can't wait to go home and drink. Bro, I knocked him out, man. He didn't even step. It was after school, bro. I just knocked him out. Huh? What? So I slept with Derek in his car, and then I slept with Tom, and his friends found out because of that Snapchat I sent all them, but it's okay because I fucked all his friends too. Hey, you think I should text her after school? Can we leave early today so I can go home and sleep? We broke up. Like, I'm so done with guys. I'm really done with all the dumb-ass guys that ask me out. Hey, yo, girl, let me get your number. Okay. Can we please graduate already?
Can we please graduate? Can we please graduate already? More, give me a big 5-year celebration when we come back. Welcome back to the 5-year celebration, part 2 of Give Me a Break. I've always talked about some real issues going on here in Corpus. I will never forget when I first talked about Jasani Smith. I will never forget that, and a great intro that I did. Listen to this one. It was 11 minutes.
Give Me a Break. So extraordinary, so amazing, you can't look the other way.
It was so amazing that I had to freaking talk about it and tell you guys how to survive a rip current, and that's exactly what I did. by teaching you guys and giving you guys some helpful tools and tips so that way you don't go riding off in a tidal wave. That's the one I will never forget. I'll also never forget when we had a special guest named Eric, who had a bowling group, CCISD. So let me find it, because I know it's not too far. Stop bullying teachers. Oh, there it is. Welcome to the show. And that's the one I will never forget. I basically had to do like one break because it was like 15 minutes. Like really, 15 minutes. So let me play you a portion. Because I knew they had 44 views. I'm going to play you a portion.
A bit later, I'm going to share with you what I...
So let's play it.
Time the bureaucracy or the administration of CCISD were going this complaint letter to the road. There was no enforced policy, or there was no enforced some of the bullying laws that were in place. They weren't being enforced. So we decided to protest outside of the South Park Middle School, and really nothing got done. So we started to go basically on a little tour around Corpus Christi, and we went to each school that had a hot spot, which we identified as a hot spot. And we protested, we signed a petition, many parents signed the petition to stop the bullying, and then we created an online Facebook group called Stop Bullying at CCISD so that more parents can be together. We also added teachers, principals, administrators, community leaders, so that we all can come together as stakeholders to end bullying.
Yeah, right. As you know, part of the...
That's one I never forget. I'll also never forget when I talked about Flyleaf ISD's great plan for a police program. I was there. I didn't have a camera with me, but I did have an audio recording, and I had it with me. It was an old recorder. You're gonna be asking me, where is it? Well, years later, the battery died, and the battery died. I couldn't charge it. It was filled with dust. You know how much that recorder was? Let me look it up. You look up auto recorder Walmart. This was the Olympus one. You know how much that costed me? That costed me like almost... The digital voice recorders, the one I had, it was the Olympus one. That cost me like almost over like $30. I wanted a cheap one. I wanted like a cheap one, like with I wanted like a cheaper one, but they didn't even have it. So that's what I want to never forget. Now after that, they did the police station thing, and I'm proud to say they're doing great. If Dr. Freeman was alive, he would have seen success. Remember, this was the same person before he died. He got rid of Latchkey and replaced it with the Boys and Girls Club. Latchkey was like one of my favorites. I had great memories of going to Latchkey. Latchkey was a great after school program for people who just waiting there and the kids, blah 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 blah. And you have summer camp Latchkey, but then they got replaced because they couldn't meet with the standards. That was like one of the best times I had. I will also never forget. I'll never forget about the dress code. We'll talk about that in a moment. We are out of time, but we're going to. But Jonathan, you say there must be more memories that you can take us back to in just a half hour. That's why this is going to be a 3-parter anniversary. It's going to be a 3-parter. Part one is the Eve. Part 2 is the real deal, and then part 3 is the finale of the 5-year anniversary. We're looking back at some of my favorite issues to talk about. Tomorrow, we're gonna do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, tomorrow's gonna continue with running in the halls, dress codes, and our fights. I'll never forget when I also talked about DWB, which was driving while black, skateboarders trespassing, and vandalism and tobacco in all of our schools. And I'll also never forget when we talked about underage drinking and assault in class, plus the gold wing ceremony from over 4 years ago. So look for that tomorrow at my old school. That's where I grew up. This is where I grew up. I grew up here in Flower Bluff. I went to school here. I walked the streets as a musician with my guitar. And now, 5 years later, I'm over here giving you some real advice, real issues, with some real deals going on, so that you at home can look at me and understand this guy is very serious. And I am. I graduated school. And personally, I got a lot of people to thank. We'll thank them tomorrow. That's all for this edition. That's all for the special edition, part 2 of the 5-year celebration of Give Me a Break Monday. We'll see you again for part 2 of the 5-year celebration, Give Me a Break Tuesday. Outside the high school, across the street. I'll be right next to Domino's, so y'all can be there if you want to watch, because I'm looking for a live audience. And for all of us here at Give Me a Break and YouTube, good night.